Hi, my name's Cameron and I'm going to explain to you today the Savvy Travel Pack. And I think the best way to do that is through a deck of cards that I made, because whenever anyone goes backpacking, they always seem to take a deck of cards. So you're planning where you're going to go travelling, and what you see and expect to happen is to experience the beautiful deserted island, climb great mountains, try exciting new modes of transport, stay in rustic beautiful hostels, see the wonders of the world, try tasty new food, and meet new and interesting people. Now, all of this is a huge part of travelling and backpacking, which is why everyone loves it and everyone tries to go as much as they can. However, things can do and unfortunately do go wrong. And the issue is, we don't really see that. All we see is this great stuff because we travel as if we're either Mr. or Mrs. Invincible. So, if we take the examples above, let's see where things could possibly go awry. So that great deserted island you've been staying on, you could get caught in a tropical thunderstorm, or perhaps torrential rain while climbing that mountain. The tuk-tuk or other exciting modes of transport might not necessarily be the safest. The rustic hostels might be prone to blackouts, and the wonders of the world, although spectacular, don't generally have the greatest toilets. And although the food you tried was great and the best thing you've ever eaten, there's a good chance you might be getting traveller's tummy. And lastly, the meal you shared with the night before with your new best friends might turn out to be opportunistic thieves. Now, all of this is compounded by the fact that you're probably hundreds, if not thousands of miles away from home, and you probably don't know the language. So what happens is people who perhaps have travelled before or more worldly wise think, how can they mitigate against these things happening? So for instance, your parents or maybe your aunt or some friends will buy you items, essential backpacking items that will help guard against these things happening. However, they don't know what's necessary or what's essential, and so they buy you a random assortment of items, some that may be useful and some not. So for instance, when I went backpacking, my dad bought me a mosquito net just for my head. Now, I'm sure that has an important role in some instances, but when you're backpacking day to day in a t-shirt and always travelling a mosquito net for your head, I'm not convinced it is always the best help. So that's the first issue, making sure you have the essential items you need when you're backpacking. The second thing is when people backpack, they generally tend to take a large backpack and then a much smaller one, which is their actual day bag, which they'll take on their day-to-day activities. Now, say you've just been bought all these items by your parents that they've deemed essential for whatever reason, but you think you're Mr. and Mrs. Invincible. So you put these items into your large backpack because there's not much room in your small one and you don't think anything's going to happen to you anyway. So all these items are left at the wayside in your hostel, and so when something does happen, you just don't have access to it. So with these two issues, being making sure you have everything you need backpacking, and secondly, making sure there's a way to always have access to it, I went about designing, manufacturing, iterating, creating prototypes, and then backpacking with it, the Savvy Travel Pack. Now, the Savvy Travel Pack includes over 60 travel essential features and can uniquely be clipped onto the outside of your day bag through a screw clip carabiner, so it can always be accessible to you. Now, how do I know what you need to take when travelling? Well, I've been fortunate enough to go backpacking for 3 and a bit years, and I've also spoken to hundreds and hundreds of other backpackers along my trip. So, if we take these examples before, let's see how the Savvy Travel Pack might help guard against everything here. So, a torch and a battery bank to provide you with some emergency power during the blackouts. A first aid kit for the perhaps not so safe modes of transport. A padlock to deter the opportunistic thieves. A waterproof poncho for the sudden outbreaks of rain. A multi-tool card which can be used in a multitude of scenarios. Sunblock stick and insect repellent for the deserted island. and unfortunately a worryingly rare commodity, toilet paper for the toilets, an eye mask for the hostel, an emergency foil blanket if things really go awry while travelling, while hiking, and a pen for when technology fails you, hand sanitizer to try and give you the best chance of avoiding travellers' tummy, and earplugs. Now, in addition to this, when I was young, the first telephone number I ever learned was 999, the emergency services. Yet as soon as I went abroad backpacking, I had no idea what the telephone number was for each country, whether that was Peru, Brazil, Guatemala, or India. And I thought this was ridiculous because the likelihood of things going wrong is a lot higher. So I compiled a list of all 195 countries and their respective emergency services number. So the Savvy Travel Pack includes all these fundamental backpacking items which I deem essential for everyone, but I'm also aware of the fact that you and I probably travel differently. So as a part of the Savvy Travel Pack, there is the spare pocket. Now in that spare pocket, you can keep perhaps some paracetamol because you might be liable to a headache if you like a few beers the evening before, or perhaps you might be asthmatic, so you may always want to carry your inhaler with you. And in addition to the spare pocket, underneath there's a secret pocket. Now in the secret pocket there is you can keep maybe a copy of your passport, or a copy of your insurance, or perhaps some emergency dollars. So you have all these fundamental backpacking items which can now uniquely be attached to the outside of your day bag, meaning that all these items you always have access to. So, if I quickly summarise, the Savvy Travel Pack is smaller than a shoe, is water resistant, it's strong and durable, and you can fly with it. Meaning you're no longer going like Mr. or Mrs. Invincible with the Savvy Travel Pack as your right-hand man. You're a lot more like Batman. Meaning wherever you travel around the world, you've got everything you need always with you. So, wherever you're next planning on going travelling, make sure you take the Savvy Travel Pack with you.